let's go over break-in real quick. And you'll notice that you need to use quality gas. And so my gas is high enough octane. I also use ethanol free. And then you want to use a special lubrication, so synthetic is good. So for a two-stroke engine, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. The ratio of gas to oil is 50-1, they say, but if you read on the DLE170 manual that's online, they say 30-1. So I went with a more conservative measurement, and I'm doing 30-1, at least for break-in. Now I may go to 50-1 because that's what my Vitarazi 185 takes, and that way I don't have to have two different mixes for two different paramotors, and we'll see how that works. I said that max RPMs for this thing to get the 17.5 horsepower was like 7,500 RPMs. Well, we're gonna be doing not quite half of that for the break-in. Now you would not wanna go for a full hour. I don't think they're saying keep this thing at 3,000 RPMs for a full half hour in one long break-in session. What I did is exactly what other manufacturers recommend, is I did 5-minute increments. And I would rev it up to about 3,000 RPMs and let it cool down, 3,000 RPMs. And I'd do that for about 5 minutes going back and forth. And then I would stop, and as it cooled down, I would check everything. I live in Texas, and I don't want this thing to get too hot and overheat, foul a plug, or do damage to the paramotor. So again, I don't think it's a good idea to run this thing when you first receive it for 3,000 RPM at 3,000 RPMs for a half hour without checking and making sure nothing's vibrating loose. You'll notice I have a little baby bottle right here. You can get your gas in your container, and I recommend only mixing it when the amount that you're going to use. That way, if you need to use that gas for something else that doesn't require premix, you haven't wasted it. So if it starts to go bad, you could pour it in your car as long as you haven't mixed it. So you don't want any oil in a standard car or 4-stroke engine. So you'll notice this has the milliliters on the side, but that's not 100% accurate. It's better to use a scale and measure it out in milliliters. I found that's a much better way to get your true measurements. But sometimes you have to use something on the fly, and that's what I've used before. But again, you want to use some sort of synthetic brand. This is the same product I use on all my Vitarazi engines, so the 185, and when I had the Atom 80, even when I had the Top 80, I used Motul. The reason I use Motul and everything else is because it's all Vitarazi, and that would invalidate the warranty if you use any kind of oil that's not recommended. So again, do your break-in 5-minute increments, and then let it cool down, go do something for a couple of minutes, and then again, you can come back to the 3,000 RPMs and then let it cool down. And I really wouldn't do the 3,000 RPMs for the full 5 minutes. Maybe do it for, for the first part, just kind of let it get warmed up, and then do 3.5 minutes at that RPM, and then come down to just a little bit above idle, maybe a quarter of the speed.